Well, what I wanted to talk about you today is in 12 minutes, and I would have used there about 127 slides, which meant that I'm using 1,834 words, and that means that I would show you about 10 slides per minute and 5.6 slides you had to understand them. And why? Because I would try to little wake you up, because I wanted to talk to you about the necessity to learn to read, to write, and write, to read between the lines. Sorry, you might be happy or shocked. Sorry, you might be a little bit bored. But at the end of my talk, you will be very happy, I'm pretty sure, and you will sleep well. This is me. As I'm telling you, 6 years of age, my best friend, Mr. Spock, had all these wonderful things. And the best thing he had was a tricorder, this wonderful apparatus. It was a smartphone of today. And if you can buy it for $95.99. And the most beautiful thing Mr. Spock brought was the idea of traveling into time and space, up to the cosmic hug, somewhere a billion years away. And all my life, since a little boy, I dedicated to become an astronaut. I was pretty sure that I would be the first youngest astronaut in the world, and yes, I would be there. And I wrote, and I studied, and I did all the things to become that astronaut, and yes, what happened? Nothing. I came up working with the broadcast station, not astronaut, being very cultural, and at the end of the day, I was one of the CEOs of one of the public broadcasters. Nothing there. And when I became 40, I just had the idea of trying to become again the astronaut. And I had a big little friend, Buzz Lightyear, to infinity and beyond. I had the NASA, per aspera ad astra, up to the stars for difficulties. And yes, I would travel on to space. This would be my thing. And, well, no, because I found out that anyone would go into the moon. It's an easy, cheap thing. And Starman is out there. And a convertible. So it's not really exciting to go to the moon anymore. And I had my mission control just in my laptop. So what the beep about being an astronaut? So then I thought, what's the next best to being the astronaut? What's the best person you can be? The one who explores more than the moon, billions of light years away. I asked people in Washington what they thought about my dream.
Oh, wow.
Ladies, you want to be a librarian? No? Can I ask you a question? Do you want to become a librarian?
I don't, but I do love libraries.
Same here, I love books, but not a librarian.
Okay. Hey, hello, little man. You want to become a librarian?
Answer. Yes or no, Andrew? Answer, yes or no?
What?
Do you want to be a librarian? No.
Okay, last but not least. Hello, you speak English? You want to become a librarian? Hello? And it's strange, because why fearing a librarian? Why on a Friday night when I'm out and somebody asks me, so what are you doing for a profession? And I say, well, I'm a librarian. This exact silence starts. You see in the eyes of the person next to you, oh my God, it's my only night out and I'm standing next to the librarian. And it's strange because they are the custodians of trusted information. They are the ones who are really going into space. Remember the Library of Alexandria that made knowledge possible for anyone, everywhere, without any problem, without any just lack of going in. So why fearing the librarian? Why if people think it's a boring job? If you know that the public library worldwide is the best visited institute. So I can ask here, who is a member of a library? Yeah. So if you're a member, 1 out of the 4 Dutch people are a member, active member of a library. They have the biggest youth part of people inside them. They train old people, they help young people. They inspire, they bring things further. You can debate, you can really do the most important thing, learn to read. They are the reading motors worldwide. Every librarian shows you that reading is important. So I started to be a librarian and build a library. Just not that simple, but we did. And I'm just a small man, so I like big dreams. Like Mr. Spocky to space. So we had this year, we built the most modern library in the world. And yes, after a few years in the city of Delft, we succeeded. Not with money, but just with clear ideas and trying to convince people to help us. And they did. And we became even the best library in the Netherlands in a fast way. And what we did was to bring the connection between the digital world and the humankind. And we did it in all kinds of ways. And what brought it me and us and my friends and my colleagues, that we helped Zaha Hadid, one of the most famous architects, to build libraries all over. Francine Houben from Meccano. And even here, Doc in Aarhus, we were asked to help them. And we did, and we loved it. And you can find my name somewhere on a wall of inspiration. And the last library I built was the one on Schiphol. The most visited place in Schiphol is this library. And why? Just because it connects. Because it's maybe boring. Because you have to wait, and waiting is important. And when you wait, you can read a book. And today I'm the CEO. I call it the CA. I'm become more boring because I can. You call it the Chief Executive Archivist. I'm a librarian and an archivist. I mean, that's double boring. And we do, I think, tremendous work in research. It's the biggest database, almost 46 petabytes of pure data to search for the truth. Really searching for truth. Reading what is the truth in news, the truth in telling a story on television, on video and audio. And we love it. And these are the people working there, all boring. And what we try to do to make the connection between the young ones with the old stuff and the old ones with the new stuff. And it's interesting and it's important because information has just been traveling so much faster than it ever did before. If you change how the world is, and it's there for 24 hours, 7 days a week, man, whew, there's no rest. And if you look to the pop concerts from just 10 years ago, this is what happened after the iPhone. And it helps people. It changes people's lives really, all over the world. It connects you with everyone you want in any place. And how fast it goes. This is Fukushima. If you would have stand there on your balcony and see this tsunami coming 100 years ago, the only thing you could do is say, help, 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 and nobody would hear you. But today you do put out a tweet, you see a graph here, in 15 seconds what happens on the guy or woman sitting on the balcony. That's an incredible speed, how we do and change and the way we make our messages going. And it's going on, and we are connected. I was 3 weeks ago in Alo Alto and in Silicon Valley talking with all the big tech companies about this way of the proliferation of information and how we work with it. And we went finally to Snapchat. Who's on Snapchat? All right. I'm also on Snapchat. I got 5 children and they said, Dad, not on Snapchat, you not. But explain me how many snaps were being made. How many you think? Every day. How many? 3.5 billion snaps every day. 3.5 billion snaps every day. That is crazy. And we are starting to do other things. Who got the Nokia? Because Nokia connected people. Okay. Interesting, eh? In 10 years, no Nokia. Right. Now what are we going to do? We're not connecting people, we're connecting things. And we do it like Julie Andrews. Cream-colored ponies, crisp apple strudels, doorbells and sleigh bells, and schnitzels with noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wing. These are all of my connected things. And we love it, and we think it's okay, because it's this big world where we can share, and it will bring us well. Data, 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 more data, more data, more data. And it doesn't stop. It brings new industries and new businesses. And it brings the idea of calling to my son out there in Thailand. And I'm happy to call him because it's free. And I remember calling to my grandmother in Mexico, which costed $12 per minute. And we called her twice a year, on her birthday and on Christmas. And it was always a problem. Because when we phoned with his old phone, the excitement of the connection. And then she said, hola, dickbag. And then we said, hey, Grandma, it's us. And then the problem started, because my grandma was emotionally so taken away, because this was technically possible, that she was silent for 4 minutes. And my father standing in the back calculating 4 times $12, that's $48 thrown away. So we're like, yeah, yes, come on, bye-bye. And now I can see my son just for nothing by a Wi-Fi connection. And can see that his room is the same there as it is here. And I understood from Natalie it's very good that hygiene should be more of a mess. And we do it everywhere in the world with everyone, even animals. And the funny thing, it really brings the power to the people. If you do have a demonstration, you can be there. That's the Tahir plane. That's what I was explaining. It brings up the power to the people. And then we come to the next level of our information society, the AI part. The AI. TEDx today with AI. It's like a commercial, and I think it's a big hype, AI. A very, very big hype. Because we are very far away from what we really want. Yes, of course, it does not replace us or human beings. It helps us, it makes us stronger. We don't have to drive our cars in the end ourselves, but it will take a very long time. Before you will not drive your car yourself in Amsterdam, I'll be dead and buried a long time. 2070, 2080, I hope so, I don't think so. And the funny thing is, we don't even need our journalists. This is QuakeBot writing just a simple thing, and Bloomberg used Bertie. And the Washington Post has the heliograph to help them. One of the nice things that AI is not as smart as we think. Happily. She was sleeping on the ground, and yeah, well, okay, well. But the interesting thing is that something is taking over a little bit, and these millions or zillions of apparatus we have in our pocket. These algorithms, we don't really know what to do. And sometimes we're asking, okay, it was power to the people, but we're shifting to what we call power to the servers. Power to the machines, not actually really knowing what it means. And the next level of AI, forget it, but you will hear it in just a few times, unsupervised learning. That's the big beep up from the day. And yes, it's what Joop showed, these real people, no. These are invented by what we call a generative adversarial network, again. And that's strange, because if these are not real people, who can we trust then in the search of truth? This is where fully loaded of data. Am I Eppo? You don't know. So if you put in Google and ask him, what's truth? Truth or drink, truth or dare? It's interesting what comes out. And for me, truth is what you just gave away. That's the data, combined with algorithms. That's today's truth. And you get your answer, the one you like. And that's why we should learn to read between the lines. Because if truth is not there, we have to find it ourselves. We have to understand that what you see is not what you see. That you need to know that trust is really between the lines. Now, these two librarians, which are quite handsome, more handsome than I am, we started more than 10 years ago what's called the Library Bureau of Investigation, the LBI. And we traveled around the world just checking out how fake news and things were working, how we could get the trusted information. And it was brought by the motto of my grandmother, Mimi, not the one from Mexico, sitting here with my youngest son, saying, do this, learn to be untrusted, to trust the digital world. She was 99 years of age before the laptop was even invented, and she worked with it. And she said, read between the lines. Understand that what you get, what you use, every push you do on your mobile phone, every contact you have, whether it's WhatsApp, you're being checked out. As dystopia, if it's a dystopia, is already there. It's not a question if it's there. This is my son today. Looks good, huh? Looks like his mum, to be honest. But he's one who's being trained today. We are able to train 200,000 pupils each year. Next week there will be the week, what we call, of media literacy. The week van de media-wijsheid. And we've been fighting that for a long time. And now since 5 years we're doing this. And we're trying to reach, and we're reaching out. Because this is my grandma sitting behind the laptop. She died when she was 102 and 1 day. And this year, these two wonderful women, on the right my wife, on the left my mother. And I live next to my mother. And my mother is a strong woman. Really a strong woman. But what my mother can't do is connect to the digital world. And she is reliant on it, on my aunt of 90 years of age, to understand what's going on. And every time she asks me, what's my PIN code of my mobile number? I don't know. And I'm living next to her, but she's missing a lot of what we are interacting with the family. And she's not the only one. Because if you look in the Netherlands, there are 2.5 million people who are not able to connect to that internet as you can do. 2.5 million, of which 1.2 million are old people. And old people are people like me, older than 55. So we have got a long way to go. And that's what the libraries are for. They are striding and every day to get people in, older people who are not connected, to connect them to this wonderful world. And that's why I love them. These boring people. Because the task is to do so. And we just had this last year, this great companies helping us to reach the 17 million with our media literacy program. And now we're up to the world. Okay, I'm finishing up. Reading between the lines is important for the young ones as it is for you. And you have to understand that why it is. So we have to connect. And then I come back to Natalie, our neuroscientist, who was talking about the gut. We're talking about the brain. You know what makes you happy? You know what makes you happy? To make this connection? What makes you happy is this. Oxytocin. And oxytocin, if you write it down like this, and you mix it up, you get the word connection itself. It's the cuddle hormone. Just smell, you can smell it here. It's the cosmic hug, but then very far away. And mammals, we're mammals, and we're the only one who have this kind of hormone. So we're naturally directed to make these connections. Not everyone, but most do. And then finally, that's what we're trying to do with our program immediately. Making this connection through the human way, through the librarian way. Just running up in a building, not too digital, but you can really touch us and feel us. And then I end up with why reading is so important. Everyone is saying kids should learn coding. Coding is your survival in the world of, but you can't code if you can't read. And the other interesting thing is that 60% of the kids will never ever be able to do good math because their brains are no math brains. So we can shove it up them in their faces and say, come on, be like this wonderful astrophysicist. But being an astrophysicist, ask a massive kind of left brain and not a massive kind of right brain. And most have a big right brain. So if you understand in the Netherlands alone, 1 out of 7 children is not able to read well, is low literate, we got a long way to go. And how can you learn people to read? By inspiring. Now I show you this picture. These are 2 guys. You all know. No. The right one is Mandela. And he liked the left one. Why? Because he wrote a fantastic poem. And I'll try to do this for you here. The poem that brings you, that shows that you at the end of the day, are the ones who can have your life in your hands. Not always, but if you do your best, you will. And that's about reading, and that's about the power of inspiration. It's William Ernest Henley, and he wrote the poem Invictus. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but I'm bowed. In this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade. And yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, nor how with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Thank you very much.